Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu forged an emergency government on Wednesday. He struck an agreement with the centrist opposition party leader Benny Gantz to form a new war cabinet. It will also include Israel's Defense Minister Yoav Gallant. Gallant has said that the war cabinet will seek to end the existence of Hamas. He said, and I quote, "We will wipe this thing called Hamas, ISIS, Gaza off the face of the earth." A building next to a hospital in the Israeli city of Ashkelon was hit by a rocket on Wednesday. Glass and debris lay on the ground outside the building. Rockets launched from Gaza could be seen in the sky above the city. The sounds of explosions and sirens could also be heard. On Tuesday, a Hamas spokesman told residents to leave the city by 5 p.m. without giving any further details. Israel's exchange of rocket fire with Hamas continued on Wednesday night. Footage showed Israel's Iron Dome missile defense system intercepting rockets fired from Gaza. Meanwhile, tanks marched around densely populated Palestinian enclave. Israeli shelling hit southern Lebanese towns on Wednesday. This was in response to a fresh rocket attack by armed group Hezbollah. Hezbollah said it had fired precision missiles at an Israeli position. This was in response to the killing of its members in Israeli shelling earlier this week. The Israeli military said it was attacking Lebanon after one of its northern positions was targeted with anti-tank fire. US Secretary of State Antony Blinken has arrived in Israel. Yesterday, before boarding his plane, Blinken said that he will work with US allies in the region. This is to secure the release of more than 100 people that Israel says Hamas holds captive. Washington believes some of those captives could be American citizens. The White House has said that the US is in talks with Israel and Qatar. This is to recover the hostages following Hamas's attack on Israel. Qatari mediators have reportedly held calls to negotiate freedom for Israeli women and children captured by Hamas in Gaza. This will be in exchange for the release of 36 Palestinian women and children from Israel's prisons. US President Joe Biden has warned Iran to quote-unquote exercise caution. Biden said this during a meeting with Jewish leaders at the White House. This comes amid fears that Iran may be emboldened to get involved in the Israel-Hamas war. During the meeting, Biden also discussed the deployment of US military ships and aircraft closer to Israel in a clear signal to Tehran. China's foreign ministry has called for the resumption of peace talks between Palestine and Israel. It has called for the implementation of the two-state solution. The two-state solution envisions an independent state of Palestine alongside the state of Israel. A spokesperson for the ministry said that it was the only way to address the ongoing conflict. Meanwhile, Jordan's King Abdullah also called for an independent Palestinian state alongside Israel. He said that peace is not possible in the Middle East unless two independent states merge. King Abdullah said that a two-state solution was the only option to attain peace. This is so that Palestinian people receive their own country with sovereignty. Russian President Vladimir Putin has accused the United States of trying to take matters into its own hands. He said this while referring to the ongoing Israel-Hamas war. Putin accused the US of sidestepping an established process of settling the Israel-Palestinian conflict. He said that the conflict cannot be resolved without addressing issues such as the establishment of a separate Palestinian state. The Arab League held an emergency meeting in Cairo on Wednesday. They've called for an immediate halt of the Israeli war in Gaza. The Arab League chief, Ahmad Abdul Ghaith, has warned of a serious possibility for the situation to get out of control. He has called for both sides to practice self-restraint. The League also emphasized the need to follow international humanitarian law. Jens Stoltenberg, the Secretary General of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization or NATO, has said that Israel has the right to defend itself against Hamas's attack. Stoltenberg said that he expects Israel's response to be proportionate. He also added that civilian lives must not be compromised in the attacks. Stoltenberg said, and I quote, "It is important as this conflict continues to do whatever is possible to prevent the loss of innocent civilian lives." India is set to evacuate its citizens who want to return from the war-hit country of Israel. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar has said that special chartered flights are being arranged. Jaishankar's post on social media platform X read, and I quote, "Launching Operation Ajay to facilitate the return from Israel of our citizens who wish to return." The first flight is expected to take off from Tel Aviv to India today. Several people gathered outside the United Nations in Geneva on Wednesday. They carried Israel's flag to show support for the country. The protesters also denounced the violence by Hamas against Israeli civilians. Demonstrators held up signs that read, quote-unquote, "Solidarity with Israel." Residents in the Israeli city of Holon were heard singing the country's national anthem on Wednesday. This video was widely shared on social media. It showed several lit windows in an apartment building. The anthem was playing loudly and people sang along. US Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin has said Ukraine will continue to have US's support for as long as it takes. The Pentagon chief said this amid the ongoing Israel-Hamas war. He said that US should be ready if Russians again decide to bombard Ukraine this winter. Republicans in the US House of Representatives have nominated Steve Scalise to become their next speaker. He defeated competitor Jim Jordan in a closed-door party vote on Wednesday. Scalise will next face full vote in the House. There, he will need the support of 217 lawmakers to secure the speakership. This comes after Kevin McCarthy was ousted from the role in a historic no-confidence vote earlier this month. An earthquake of 6.3 magnitude hit Afghanistan's Herat city yesterday. This comes days after Afghanistan was hit by another earthquake that killed thousands. So far, more than 2,400 people have died and over 2,000 are injured. The World Food Programme, or WFP, is calling in for cash aid for the earthquake-hit regions of Afghanistan. WFP is calling the situation a disaster on top of a disaster. 1,500 French soldiers have left their base in the West African country of Niger. This is after the country's junta demanded their withdrawal. The troops' withdrawal shows France's diminishing influence over Niger. It also marks the end of the European country's military ties with its former colony. "21 coaches of the Northeast Express train derailed in Bihar's Buxar yesterday. An official has confirmed the death of 4 passengers. The evacuation and rescue operation has been successfully completed. Officials blamed poor track maintenance as the cause of the accident. Now on to news from the Cricket World Cup in India. India beat Afghanistan by 8 wickets in yesterday's match. Afghanistan batted first and scored 272 runs in their innings. Captain Hashmatullah Shahidi was the highest run scorer for Afghanistan. He managed to hit 80 runs in 88 deliveries. Indian openers started the chase strong. Captain Rohit Sharma scored 131 runs as Virat Kohli scored an unbeaten 55. India successfully chased down the target with 90 balls to spare. Meanwhile, the Afghanistan cricket team wore black armbands in yesterday's match. This was to pay their respects to victims of the earthquake in Afghanistan. Afghan bowler Rashid Khan has promised to donate his earnings from the World Cup to victims of the earthquake. Captain Rohit Sharma broke two records in yesterday's match against Afghanistan. Rohit Sharma scored his century in just 63 balls. This made him the fastest World Cup ton by an Indian. The previous record was held by India's Virender Sehwag, who scored his century in 81 deliveries. With his 7th World Cup ton, Rohit Sharma broke Indian legend Sachin Tendulkar's record for most centuries in the ODI World Cup. The Indian skipper also broke West Indies batter Chris Gale's record for most sixes in international games. Sharma has now hit 553 sixes in 473 innings. Indian batter Virat Kohli has become the highest run scorer in ODI and T20 World Cups. Kohli broke Indian batter Sachin Tendulkar's record in yesterday's match against Afghanistan. Kohli has surpassed Tendulkar's previous record of 2,278 runs in the World Cup tournaments. Indian batters were in full form against Afghanistan. Shreyas Iyer was unbeaten at 25 as Virat Kohli and he steered India to victory. Iyer's shot selection impressed the crowd. On the first ball of the 32nd over, Iyer smashed Afghan spinner Mujibur Rahman's delivery into orbit. The ball landed into the upper stands as Shreyas Iyer registered the longest six of this year's World Cup at 101 meters. Indian pacer Jasprit Bumrah registered his career-best World Cup figures in yesterday's match. He took 4 wickets for just 39 runs as Afghan batters struggled to bat against Bumrah's speed and length. The speedster was difficult to play with the new and old ball. In his first 3 overs, Bumrah conceded only 5 runs. In the 44th over, he took 2 wickets in quick succession, triggering the collapse of Afghan's batting order. Some more good news for Indian fans. Batter Shubman Gill is in Ahmedabad city and is likely to take part in the practice session today. As per reports, the Indian team will join Gill in Ahmedabad today as they gear up for the match against Pakistan on the 14th of October. Pakistan Cricket Board Chairman Zaka Ashraf will arrive in India today. He has confirmed his attendance for the match between India and Pakistan on Saturday. This comes after Indian authorities resolved the matter of pending visas for Pakistani fans and journalists. One person was arrested by Indian authorities for sending a threat to blow up the Ahmedabad stadium. Additional special forces have also been deployed at the venue ahead of the match between India and Pakistan on Saturday. Indian security forces have declared Ahmedabad city a no-drone zone. Earlier, India had deployed 11,000 security personnel for the match. Kane Williamson and Tim Saudi have cleared their fitness tests. They are now eligible to be included in the Black Cap squad. Williamson and Saudi had to sit out of New Zealand's first 2 matches at the World Cup. New Zealand next play against Bangladesh tomorrow.